The email from the scholarship committee sat unopened in my inbox for 3 days. I knew what they needed, just a simple verification of my existing college fund. The same fund my grandmother had set up for me when I was born, the one that was supposed to make my dreams possible. The same fund that, as of last Tuesday, didn't exist anymore. My name is Sophia, and I'm watching my future disappear in real time. "Mom," I called out, walking into our kitchen where she was arranging flower samples. "Can we talk about the college fund?" She barely glanced up from the lavender sprigs. "Honey, we've been through this. The wedding is in 2 months, and these arrangements aren't going to pay for themselves." "But that money was for my education," I said, my voice cracking. "Grandma Ella specifically—" "Oh, don't start with that again," Mom cut me off, finally looking at me. "Your sister's wedding is a once-in-a-lifetime event. College will always be there. Take out loans like everyone else." The front door opened and Harmony breezed in, shopping bags dangling from both arms. "Mom! You won't believe what I found for the bridesmaids' gifts." I watched as Mum's entire demeanour changed, her face lighting up as she rushed to inspect Harmony's latest purchases. I might as well have been invisible. "Show me everything," Mum squealed, helping Harmony spread her treasures across the kitchen counter, right on top of my scholarship paperwork. "Hey, I was working on that," I protested weakly. "Oh, sorry," Harmony chirped, not sorry at all. "But look at these personalised silk robes, aren't they divine?" I grabbed my papers and retreated to my room, but not before hearing Mom gush, "$300 each! That's a steal for this quality." That night, I confronted Dad in his study. "Did you even think about asking me before emptying my college fund?" He looked up from his laptop, sighing like I was being unreasonable. "Sophia, you're smart. You'll get scholarships. Your sister needs this wedding to be perfect. You know how important the Youngs are." "And what about what I need?" I asked, fighting back tears. "What you need is to stop being selfish," he replied firmly. "This is about family." I laughed bitterly. "Family? Was it about family when Grandma Ella made you promise to protect that money for my education?" "Your grandmother," he paused, something flickering across his face. "She didn't understand the real world. Sometimes priorities change." I retreated to my bedroom, pulling out the last birthday card Grandma Ella had given me before she passed. Inside, she'd written, "Remember, my clever girl, I've made sure you're taken care of, just in case." Those last 3 words echoed in my head as I stared at her neat handwriting. Just in case. Just in case of what? What had she seen coming? My phone buzzed. Another text from Harmony about dress fittings. I ignored it, instead pulling up my contacts and scrolling until I found the number I needed. My hands shook as I pressed dial. "Hope Ferguson's office," a crisp voice answered. "Hi," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "This is Sophia Bowen. My grandmother was Ella Ferguson." A pause. "Yes, of course. How can I help you?" "I think something's really wrong here," I said, the words tumbling out. "My parents just emptied my college fund, the one Grandma set up. They're using it for my sister's wedding. But I remember Grandma saying she'd protected it somehow, that she'd made sure—" "Stop right there," Hope interrupted, her tone suddenly sharp. "Don't say anything else over the phone. Can you come to my office tomorrow at 9 a.m? "Yes, but bring any documentation you have about the fund. And, Sophia," she paused, "don't tell your parents you're coming to see me." After I hung up, I could hear Harmony's laughter floating up from downstairs, followed by Mom's excited chatter about table settings. I thought about Grandma Ella's knowing smile the last time I saw her, how she'd squeezed my hand and said, "Sometimes justice takes patience, my dear." I didn't understand what she meant then, but I was starting to. The fluorescent lights at Miller's Books buzzed overhead as I restocked the self-help section, my eyes burning from lack of sleep. 3 job applications and 2 scholarship essays had kept me up until 4 a.m, and my hands shook as I arranged the spines. "You're putting those on the wrong shelf," Brian said quietly behind me. I jumped, nearly dropping Living Your Best Life on my foot. "Sorry," I mumbled, blinking at the titles. He was right. I'd been putting relationship advice books in the career section. "When's the last time you ate something?" He leaned against the shelf, concerned. "You look like you're about to pass out." Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. Another text from Mom. "Need you home by 6. Harmony's florist changed the quote, emergency family meeting." I showed Brian the message and he whistled. "Another wedding crisis? The florist wants to charge extra for imported peonies," I said, my voice hollow. "Apparently, local flowers aren't good enough for the Youngs." "How much extra?" 5,000. I laughed, but it came out more like a sob. "That's a semester's worth of textbooks right there." Brian touched my shoulder gently. "Take your break. I'll cover for you." In the break room, I pulled out my laptop and opened another scholarship application. The words blurred together as I tried to explain why I deserved financial aid, why I was worth investing in, when my own family hadn't thought so. My phone rang. Hope Ferguson's number flashing on the screen. I answered immediately. "I've reviewed everything," she said without preamble. "Can you come in tomorrow morning?" "I work until—" "This is important, Sophia. Your grandmother made sure you weren't forgotten." Something in her tone made my heart skip. "What do you mean?" "Not over the phone. Tomorrow, 9 a.m. sharp." She paused. "And bring a notebook." I made it home by 6:05, but the family meeting was already in full swing. "It's not just the peonies," Harmony was saying, waving her hands dramatically. "Dante's mother says the table settings look cheap. We need to upgrade everything." Dad rubbed his temples. "How much? Only 12,000 more?" Harmony's voice went sweet, the way it always did when she wanted something. "Daddy, please. The Youngs are expecting—" "The Youngs this, the Youngs that," I snapped, surprising everyone, including myself. "Maybe they should pay for their precious table settings." The room went silent. Mum's face darkened. "Sophia, if you can't be supportive—" "Supportive?" I stood up, my chair scraping back. "You took my entire future and turned it into centerpieces, and I'm supposed to be supportive?" "Don't be dramatic," Harmony rolled her eyes. "It's just college. You can still go to community college or something." I stared at her, at this person who was supposed to be my sister, and felt something inside me break. "I got into Princeton." "What?" Mom's head snapped up. "I got in. Full academic acceptance." I pulled the crumpled letter from my bag. "But I can't go because I can't afford it, because my college fund is paying for your imported flowers and crystal glasses." Harmony at least had the decency to look uncomfortable. Dad cleared his throat. "We'll figure something out. Maybe we can access some of your grandmother's retirement accounts." "Figure something out?" I laughed. "Like you figured out how to empty an account that wasn't yours to take?" "That's enough!" Mum slammed her hand on the table. "Go to your room if you're going to be difficult." I turned to leave, then stopped. You know what Grandma Ella told me once? She said sometimes the people who hurt you most are the ones who can't see past their own reflection. As I walked upstairs, I heard Hope's voice in my head from our brief call. "Your grandmother made sure you weren't forgotten." The next morning I sat in Hope's office, clutching my notebook as she read from a legal document. "The clause is very clear," she said, looking up at me. "Your parents' access to Ella's accounts is contingent on intact preservation of Sophia's trust." My heart stopped. "What does that mean?" Hope smiled, and for a moment she looked just like Grandma Ella. "It means, my dear, that your grandmother saw this coming, and she made sure there would be consequences." I watched from my bedroom window as Dad paced the driveway, phone pressed to his ear. His face grew redder with each passing minute. "What do you mean, denied?" he shouted into the phone. "I'm her son-in-law. Those accounts have my name on them." Inside, Mom was having her own meltdown in the kitchen. "But the honeymoon deposit is due tomorrow," she was saying to someone. "The Maldives package isn't refundable." I should have felt guilty. Instead, I felt oddly calm as I typed out an email to Hope. "They're trying to access the accounts now. What happens next?" Her response came quickly. Exactly what your grandmother planned. Would you like to see the paperwork? An hour later, I sat in Hope's office again, watching her lay out documents across her desk. Your grandmother was incredibly thorough, she explained, pointing to highlighted sections. The moment they touched your college fund, they triggered the clause. They can't access a penny of the retirement accounts until they restore your education trust. But they've already spent it, I said. Hope's smile was sharp. Exactly. Dante's family is expecting a certain standard, Mom had said last week when I questioned the cost of the honeymoon. We can always recover the money from your grandmother's accounts. Except they couldn't. My phone buzzed, a text from Brian. You okay? You seemed off at work yesterday. Before I could respond, Hope slid another document across the desk. Your grandmother left this for you, a letter to be opened when the clause was triggered. The envelope was heavy, cream-coloured. Grandma Ella's handwriting flowed across the page. My dearest Sophia, if you're reading this, they've done exactly what I feared they would. Your sister's shadow has always been long, but I've made sure it won't eclipse your future entirely. Sometimes the kindest thing we can do is let people face the consequences of their actions. Don't let them guilt you into fixing this. You're not responsible for their choices. All my love, Grandma Ella. I folded the letter carefully as Hope continued. They'll try to pressure you into signing a waiver. Don't. Everything is legally binding. How much? I asked. In the retirement accounts. $40,000. Hope's eyes met mine, plus accumulated interest. The front door was open when I got home, voices spilling out onto the porch. Harmony's new fiancé, Dante, was gesturing angrily. My mother's already told everyone about the Maldives, he was saying. We can't just cancel. Do you know how embarrassing that would be? We'll figure it out, Mom promised, her voice tight. There's just a small issue with accessing some funds. Small issue? Dad interrupted. The bank won't even talk to us anymore. They keep referring us to that damn lawyer. I tried to slip past them, but Mom's head snapped toward me. Her makeup was smeared, eyes wild. Tell me what you did, she whispered. I didn't do anything, I said truthfully. Grandma Ella did. What's that supposed to mean? Dante demanded. But Mom's face had gone pale. The clause, she breathed. That's what Ella meant at Christmas, wasn't it, when she said she'd made arrangements? What clause? Harmony appeared in the doorway, still in her wedding planning clothes. What's going on? Your sister, Mom's voice was shaking, somehow got her grandmother to lock us out of our retirement savings. I didn't get her to do anything, I corrected. You did that yourself when you stole my college fund. Borrowed, Dad shouted. We borrowed it. Without asking, without permission, for a wedding that costs more than 4 years of tuition. My voice was steady now. Actions have consequences. Fix this. Harmony stepped toward me, her perfect features twisted. Fix it right now. I can't, I said, and I wouldn't if I could. You selfish little... Mom started forward, but Dad caught her arm. We'll talk to Hope again, he said. There has to be a way around this. I walked past them, up the stairs, their voices following me. The Youngs will never understand. We can't cancel the honeymoon. How could she do this to us? In my room, I pulled out my phone and finally replied to Brian. No, I'm not okay. But I think I will be. Then I opened my laptop and started another scholarship application. Below me I could hear Mom crying, Dad arguing, Harmony demanding. But for the first time in years their drama felt distant, like a storm I was watching from somewhere safe and dry. My phone lit up with a text from Hope. Your grandmother would be proud. I thought about the letter, about consequences and choices, about shadows that had grown too long. And I smiled. The church bells chimed as guests filed in, all designer dresses and air kisses. I sat in the back row, smoothing my simple blue dress, the only one I owned that was appropriate, according to Mom's standards. The Youngs are here! Someone whispered excitedly, and heads turned as Dante's family made their entrance, dripping in jewellery and superiority. A hand touched my shoulder. Brian slid into the seat beside me, looking uncomfortable in his borrowed suit. "You didn't have to come alone," he said quietly. "I didn't want to explain why I'm sitting in the back of my own sister's wedding," I replied. The music started and Harmony appeared in the doorway. She was radiant in her custom gown, floating down the aisle like she'd been born for this moment. Mom was crying in the front row, Dad beaming proudly beside her. "And now," the minister said, "we'll hear a few words from the family." I watched as various relatives stood to give their speeches. Mom's voice shook with emotion as she talked about her beautiful firstborn. Dad cleared his throat repeatedly during his toast about his little princess. No one asked me to speak. "Would you like to say something?" Brian whispered. I shook my head. What could I say? Congratulations on the wedding that cost me my future. Best wishes on your marriage funded by theft? The reception was in full swing when Dad's phone rang. He stepped away from the head table, his face darkening as he listened. Even across the room I could see his hands shaking as he ended the call. "Turner," Mum touched his arm. "What's wrong?" "The bank," he said hoarsely. "They've denied our appeal. The retirement accounts are still frozen." Mum's perfectly made-up face crumpled. "But the catering bill—" "Not here," Dad hissed, glancing at the nearby tables. "Later." But their whispered argument carried across the dance floor. "We're maxed out on every card. The house payment is due next week." "What about the loan?" "Already denied." I sipped my water, watching Harmony and Dante twirl on the dance floor, oblivious to the financial hurricane brewing around them. "You could tell her?" Brian suggested. "Tell her what? That while she's dancing at her dream wedding, our parents are facing bankruptcy? That her perfect day came at the cost of my education and their retirement?" I set down my glass. She wouldn't believe me anyway. Later that night, as the party wound down, Mum cornered me by the bathrooms. Her eyes were glassy, either from champagne or tears. "This is all your fault," she slurred. "Your grandmother poisoned you against us." "No," I stepped back. "You did that all on your own. We gave you everything." "You gave Harmony everything," I corrected. "You gave me whatever was left over." "That's not true," but her voice wavered. "Really? Name one thing that was just for me, one time you chose me first." She opened her mouth, then closed it. "Exactly." I turned to leave. "Where are you going?" "Home. My shift starts at 8 tomorrow." "It's your sister's wedding." "And I've been here," I said. "In the back, invisible, just like always." I found Brian waiting by his car. "Ready?" "Almost." I looked back at the venue, at the twinkling lights and flowing champagne, at the dream wedding that had become my nightmare. "You know what's funny? They keep saying Grandma turned me against them, but she didn't. She just gave me the power to stop letting them hurt me." "Are you okay?" Brian asked as we pulled away. I thought about the scholarship applications waiting on my desk, about the part-time job I'd picked up at the library, about the future I was rebuilding piece by piece. "I will be." My phone buzzed. A text from Harmony. "Where did you go? Mum's crying in the bathroom." I turned off my phone. When we got home, the house was dark and quiet. I kicked off my shoes and headed upstairs, but stopped at the sight of something on my bed. It was my baby album, the one Mom kept in her closet. A note was stuck to the cover. "Your grandmother poisoned us against you." I opened it. Every photo had been removed except one. Me at my high school graduation, standing alone while in the background, my family clustered around Harmony. The message was clear. This was war. But as I tucked the album away, I realized something. They thought Grandma Ella had given me a weapon. But what she'd really given me was armor, protection against the guilt and manipulation that had controlled me for so long, and I was finally ready to use it. The sounds of another argument echoed through the house as I tried to focus on my laptop screen. 3 weeks after the wedding, and things were unravelling fast. "What do you mean you can't pay the credit card?" Mum's voice carried up the stairs. "We have to pay something." "With what money, Rachel?" Dad shouted back. "The accounts are frozen, the cards are maxed, and your daughter and her husband are living in our guest room, eating us out of house and home." I clicked submit on my application for the library leadership grant Brian had told me about. The position came with tuition assistance and flexible hours, exactly what I needed. My door burst open. Mum stood there, mascara streaked down her face. "You have to help us." "No, we're your parents." "Parents don't steal from their children," I said, closing my laptop. "We didn't steal," she started, but was interrupted by Harmony's voice from downstairs. "Mum, Dante's parents are coming for dinner tomorrow. We need to get groceries." Mum's face crumpled. "We can't afford—" "But they're expecting us to host." Harmony appeared behind Mum, still in her silk pyjamas at 2 p.m. "Daddy, can't you just call Hope again?" "I tried." Dad emerged from his study, looking older than I'd ever seen him. "She says the clause is ironclad. Unless we can restore Sophia's college fund—" "Then make her sign something," Harmony pointed at me. "Make her fix this." "I can't fix your problems," I said, standing up, "and I won't try." My phone buzzed. An email from the library. I opened it, my heart racing. "What's that?" Mom asked, trying to peek at my screen. "I got the grant," I said, my voice steady. "Full tuition coverage for my degree, plus a paid position at the university library." The silence was deafening. "Congratulations," Dad finally said, but his tone was hollow. Harmony snorted. "Great! While we're drowning in debt, you're getting free money." "It's not free," I snapped. "I worked for this. I earned it. While you were planning your perfect wedding, I was writing applications and working double shifts." "Girls," Mum started, but was cut off by the doorbell. Dad went downstairs to answer it. A moment later, his voice carried up, "Hope, what are you doing here?" I hurried downstairs to find Hope standing in our foyer, elegant as always in her charcoal suit. "I came to deliver this in person." She held out an envelope to Dad. "The final ruling from the bank's legal department." Dad's hands shook as he read the letter. "This is impossible." "The terms are quite clear," Hope said. "The misuse of Sophia's educational trust has permanently restricted access to Ella's retirement accounts. There is no appeal process." "But that's our money!" Mom cried. "No," Hope's voice was steel. "It was Ella's money, left with specific conditions, conditions you violated." "We're her parents," Dad tried again. "We had the right—" "You had an obligation," Hope corrected, "to protect your daughter's future. You chose not to honour that obligation. These are the consequences." Harmony started crying. "But what about us? What about our bills?" Hope's expression didn't change. "I suggest you look into financial counselling. Good day." After she left, the house felt like a tomb. Dad disappeared into his study. Mum sat at the kitchen table, staring at nothing. Harmony retreated to the guest room, slamming the door. My phone buzzed again. A text from Brian. "Got the grant?" "Yes," I typed back. "And something else too. Freedom." That evening, as I was leaving for my shift at the bookstore, I overheard Dante on the phone in the garden. "Mother, please—" "Yes, I know the wedding was expensive." "No, we can't move in with you instead, because it would look bad." Inside, Mom was trying to calculate bills on the back of an envelope, her handwriting getting messier as the numbers got bigger. "Sophia!" she called out as I reached for the door. "Please, we're still your family." I thought about the empty photo album, about years of being second best, about the casual cruelty of taking my future to fund Harmony's perfect day. "No," I said quietly. "You're just the people who raised me. Family would have protected me." As I walked to my car, I could see Dad through his study window, on the phone again, probably trying another bank. Harmony was on the front steps, scrolling through her honeymoon photos, still living in her bubble of privilege. My phone lit up with an email. Congratulations on your acceptance to the Advanced Library Sciences program. I started my car, leaving them all behind with their choices and consequences. In my rearview mirror, the house looked smaller somehow, less intimidating, just like their power over me. Just sign the paper, Sophia. Dad slid the document across the kitchen table. One signature, and this all goes away. I glanced at the waiver without touching it. No. Be reasonable, he pleaded. Your mother can barely sleep. The bank is threatening foreclosure. We could lose everything. Like I lost my college fund. He slammed his hand on the table. Enough! You're being childish. No, I'm being consistent. I stood up. You made your choice. Now you get to live with it. Mum appeared in the doorway, clutching her coffee mug like a lifeline. Please, sweetie, we're desperate. I remember being desperate too, I said. When I begged you not to take my money, when I showed you my acceptance letter, when I tried to explain what Princeton meant to me, did you listen then? The front door opened and Harmony stormed in. The country club cancelled our membership. Do you know how humiliating that was? Dante's mother was there. We can't afford the dues anymore, Dad muttered. This is all your fault. Harmony whirled on me. Just sign the stupid waiver. Or what? I asked. You'll take something else from me? Her face twisted. Grandma Ella would be ashamed of you. The laugh that escaped me was bitter. Really? Because she's the one who set this up. She saw exactly who you all were and made sure you couldn't hurt me forever. We never hurt you, Mom cried. Tell me something, I said, pulling out my phone. Remember this email? The one where I told you I got into Princeton? Want to know what you replied? I read aloud. That's nice, honey, but we need you to help with Harmony's wedding favours this weekend. Mom paled. I was busy. You were always busy. When it came to me, I turned to Harmony. And you, when I told you about Princeton, you said, and I quote, ugh, why would you want to go so far away? You're just trying to make everything about you again. I didn't mean, yes, you did. I picked up the waiver and ripped it in half. You all meant everything you did. Every time you chose her over me, every time you dismissed my dreams, every time you took what was mine and gave it to her. Grandma's money was meant for all of us, Dad protested. Really? Let's call Hope then. Let's ask her exactly what Grandma meant. His silence was telling. Harmony stepped closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. What do you want? An apology? Fine, I'm sorry. Now fix this. An apology? I stared at her. You think sorry makes up for 18 years of being treated like I didn't matter? For watching my future get spent on your designer wedding dress? You always make life harder for everyone, she hissed, and then her hand shot out, slapping me across the face. The room froze. My cheeks stung, but I didn't flinch. Thank you, I said quietly. For what? She spat. For proving Grandma right. I touched my cheek. She told me once that people show you who they really are when they can't control you anymore. Mum started crying. Dad looked away. Harmony stood there, her hand still raised as if shocked by her own action. I'm leaving, I announced. I have work and then a meeting about my grant, you know, the one none of you congratulated me for. Sophia, please, Mom reached for me. We're still your parents. No, I said, stepping back. You're just people who had kids and loved one more than the other. That's not parenting. That's favoritism. I grabbed my keys and bag. Behind me, I could hear Harmony starting to cry, Mom trying to comfort her, of course, and Dad making another frustrated phone call. Grandma Ella's voice echoed in my memory. Don't let them rush you into playing small. My phone buzzed. A text from Brian. Still on for coffee after your shift? Yes, I typed back. I need to tell you about what just happened. Everything okay? I touched my cheek again, feeling not pain but clarity. Better than okay. I'm finally free. As I drove away, I could see them all in the window. Mom holding Harmony, Dad pacing, their perfect family picture cracking under the weight of consequences. They'd tried to make me feel guilty for letting them face the results of their choices. They'd tried to manipulate me into fixing their mistakes. They'd even tried violence. But Grandma Ella had given me more than just legal protection. She'd given me the strength to stand firm, to let karma do its work, to watch them reap what they'd sown. And I wasn't going to waste that gift. "Did you hear about Turner and Rachel?" I overheard Aunt Linda whisper at the family reunion. "They're selling the house, moving into a rental. And Harmony," Uncle Pete leaned in, "living with Dante's parents now. The marriage is already rocky." I kept arranging cookies on the buffet table, pretending not to hear. 3 months had passed since the slap, since I'd walked away from their manipulation. "Sophia," Aunt Linda noticed me. "We were just... How are you, dear?" "Great, actually," I smiled. "The library program is going well. I start graduate courses next month." "On scholarship," Uncle Pete added pointedly. "Unlike some people, you earned your way." The family had split into camps, those who admired my stand against injustice and those who thought I'd destroyed the family. The divide grew deeper when Dad's desperate lawsuit against Hope failed spectacularly. My phone buzzed, a text from Brian. "Court documents just got posted online. Want me to send them?" "No need," I replied. "I'm done keeping score." Aunt Linda touched my arm. "Your grandmother would be so proud. She ruined us." Mum's voice cut through the chatter. She stood in the doorway, swaying slightly. The drinking had started after they lost the house. "My own mother chose her over all of us." "Rachel," Uncle Pete warned, "this isn't the time." "When is the time?" She stumbled forward. "My daughter won't even speak to me. My husband's depression is getting worse. Harmony's marriage is falling apart. And she pointed at me, "just watches it all burn." "You set the fire," I said quietly. "I just refuse to put it out." The room went silent. "I have something to say," I continued, setting down the cookie platter. "I wrote it all down, actually. Sent it to Harmony this morning." I pulled out my phone and read, "Dear Harmony, you got the fairy tale. The perfect wedding, the designer dress, the exotic honeymoon. You got everything you wanted, including my future. But here's what you didn't get. Peace, respect, self-sufficiency. You never learned to stand on your own because they were always holding you up. Now they can't anymore, and you're falling. I'm not writing to gloat. I'm writing because you should know. This isn't revenge. This is consequences. This is what happens when you build your happiness on someone else's pain. You got the fairy tale. I got the truth." "Sophia." Mom lunged for my phone, but Uncle Pete caught her arm. "Rachel, enough! How dare you?" she hissed. "After everything we did for you." "Everything you did for me," I laughed. "Let's list it. You took my college fund. You dismissed my achievements. You enabled Harmony's entitlement. You chose her happiness over my future. Every single time." "We loved you." "No, you loved having someone to sacrifice." My phone buzzed again, a voicemail notification from Harmony. I played it on speaker. "Sophia, I didn't know how to love you back then. I don't think I knew how to love anyone but myself. I'm sorry, not because I need something from you now, but because I finally understand what I took from you, what we all took from you." I ended the playback. Mum had crumpled into a chair, sobbing. Aunt Linda was comforting her while Uncle Pete looked on with disapproval. "I have to go," I announced. "I have a study group meeting." "Sophia," Mum called out weakly, "please." "I forgive you," I said, surprising everyone, including myself. "Not because you deserve it, but because I don't want to carry this anger anymore. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean fixing your mistakes. It just means I'm free." Outside, Brian was waiting in his car. "How'd it go?" "Exactly as expected." I buckled my seatbelt. "They're still waiting for me to cave to fix everything." "And will you?" I thought about Harmony's voicemail, about Mom's tears. about Dad's depression, about the consequences finally catching up to them all. No, I said firmly, some lessons have to be learned the hard way. As we drove away, I could see Mom watching from the window, still crying. My phone showed 3 missed calls from Harmony and a text from Dad. We should have protected you. I'm sorry we failed. Too little, too late. But as we turned the corner, I felt lighter somehow. Their drama wasn't my responsibility anymore. Their problems weren't mine to solve. I had my own story to write now, and it didn't include being anyone's sacrifice. The last box of Grandma Ella's books sat on my new apartment floor, waiting to be unpacked. Each one held a memory, her reading to me, teaching me to think critically, showing me how to stand up for myself. My phone lit up with Mom's weekly text. Thinking of you, hope you're well. Brief, careful, restrained. So different from her previous emotional manipulations. I left it unanswered like all the others. Need help with that? Brian asked, carrying in another box. Just this last one. I pulled out Grandma's favourite novel, a worn copy of Pride and Prejudice. A sealed envelope fell from between its pages. What's that? My hands trembled as I recognised Grandma Ella's handwriting. For Sophia. When it's over. Inside was a letter I'd never seen before. My dearest Sophia, if you're reading this, you've finally broken free. I've watched them dim your light for years, always choosing Harmony's sparkle over your steady glow. It broke my heart, but I knew you needed to find your own strength. The clause wasn't just about money. It was about consequences, yes, but more importantly, it was about choice, your choice, to stop being their sacrifice, to start being your own hero. You were always my favourite chapter. Love, Grandma Ella. The doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw Harmony standing there, looking nothing like the princess bride of 6 months ago. Her designer clothes were gone, replaced by simple jeans and a sweater. Don't open it, Brian warned. But I did. Hi, she said softly. Nice place. What do you want, Harmony? To talk. Really talk. She held up her hands. No manipulation, no asking for help, just talk. I let her in. She looked around at the modest apartment, at the boxes of books, at the life I was building without them. Dante left, she said suddenly. Turns out he only wanted the fantasy, the perfect wife with the perfect life and perfect family money. I'm sorry, I said, and meant it. Don't be. I needed this. She picked up Grandma's letter, which I dropped on the coffee table. Can I? I nodded. As she read, tears filled her eyes. She was right about me, about all of us. She handed the letter back. We didn't just take your money, did we? We took your childhood, your security, your trust. Yes. I filed for divorce yesterday, she continued. Got a job as a receptionist. Mum's furious, says it's beneath me. And what do you think? I think it's exactly what I deserve. She met my eyes. I'm not asking for forgiveness or money or anything really. I needed you to know that you won. This wasn't about winning, I said, touching Grandma's letter. It was about surviving, about choosing myself for once. Well, you did both. She stood up. I should go. Mum doesn't know I'm here. She's not handling things well. I know. Dad emails me their therapy bills sometimes, like that will make me cave. But you won't, will you? No. She nodded. Good, don't. She walked to the door, then turned back. You know what's funny? All those years they said you were the weak one. But you're the strongest person I know. After she left, Brian helped me unpack the last box. Each book found its place on my new shelves, creating a wall of wisdom and memory. You okay? He asked, shelving the final volume. Not better, I said, thinking about Harmony's visit, about Mom's careful texts, about Dad's desperate emails. Just seen. Finally seen. My phone buzzed. A message from Hope. Your grandmother would be proud of how you've handled everything. Coffee next week? I smiled, remembering Grandma Ella's words. You were always my favourite chapter. Revenge didn't heal me, I said to Brian, who was watching me carefully. But it did make sure they felt what I did, forgotten. And somehow that was enough. He took my hand. Ready to write your own story now? I looked around my new apartment, at the life I was building from the ashes of their betrayal, at the strength I'd found in standing firm, at the peace I'd discovered in letting go. Yes, I said, squeezing his hand. And this time, I'm the author. I placed Grandma's letter in her favourite book, but I didn't need to read it again. Its message was already written in my heart, in my choices, in my refusal to be anyone's sacrifice ever again. Some people call it revenge, others call it karma. I call it justice, and it tastes like freedom.